Knock, knock. Who's there? My favorite viewer. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe and let's stir up some internet mischief. Let's begin. One Saturday morning, I sat at our kitchen table, going through the paperwork for our upcoming wedding. Being someone who values organization, I compared invoices with the account we had specifically opened for wedding costs. The idea was simple. I contributed $18,000, and Brianna had said she'd add her share after receiving a business bonus. As I reviewed the documents, something seemed amiss. The catering deposit of $3,500 was missing from the joint account. The same was true for the venue and photographer expenses. All these significant charges were linked to her personal credit card. I asked Brianna, who was lounging on the couch, why the deposits were on her card when we had set up a joint account for this purpose. Without diverting her attention, she muttered it was easier this way. I questioned how that made anything simpler since the joint account was meant to streamline the process. She dismissed my concern as if I were a child, telling me not to worry because she was handling it. But I insisted on understanding how our finances were being managed. She finally looked at me, wearing that cornered expression I'd seen before. "Must you question everything?" she snapped. "You act as if I'm incapable. Once my bonus clears, everything will fall into place." For months, she'd been saying that same line, so I merely asked for some transparency. Standing up with her arms crossed and defensive, she asked what I was implying. "Nothing," I replied. "Just want to see where the money's going." Her lips twisted into a smirk that lacked warmth as she moved closer to me. She claimed she didn't trust me not to squander it on another gadget, recalling a minor expense of mine from 3 years ago. "Once," I responded, "and with my own money." Brianna scoffed. "Exactly. And yet you doubt my financial skills. Second-guessing me is tiresome. I'm the one managing our vendors and making decisions. You ought to thank me, not interrogate me." I simply reiterated that I sought clarity. She edged even closer, accusing me of craving control and hiding my mistrust behind my spreadsheets. Her voice turned low and almost triumphant as she declared, "You know, Gerald, you're replaceable. I could find someone better tomorrow, someone who doesn't question every decision I make like a child." I chose not to argue, nor did I defend myself, but let her words linger in the air. "Then why marry me?" I asked softly. "Because I chose you," was her reply, expecting my gratitude for her choice. I remained silent, jotting down the names of 3 vendors on my notepad, sensing I might need them later. That evening, while Brianna went for drinks with her friends, I logged onto my laptop and the shared iPad. She assumed I overlooked details, and I often did. However, her words from the morning drove me to investigate further. The balance of our joint wedding funds stunned me, $412. From nearly $18,000, only $400 remained. I reviewed the statement and noticed withdrawals linked to dates I recalled, not related to vendors, but to her personal trips. About a fortnight ago, she had visited a desert resort in Arizona, which she called a business retreat. The withdrawal amounted to $5,000. Prior to that, a weekend getaway with her friends at the coast had been documented on her Instagram with a self-care caption, totaling another $4,000. Further charges were related to luxury stores and a company called Vision Branding Solutions, none wedding-related. I checked Alyssa Reed's, her cousin's, social media. She had tagged Brianna at a brand launch party, reflecting a $1,200 expense sandwiched between other charges. Brianna wasn't saving for a wedding, she was maintaining an image. I leaned back to calm my breathing, not out of anger or surprise, just newfound clarity. Her claims about expenses on her card were fabrications. Our savings funded her lifestyle. Reviewing the contracts, venue, catering, photography, all were signed by her with deposits paid from her card, leaving her solely responsible since she insisted on managing everything herself. I quietly closed the iPad. I scribbled an additional note beside the list of vendors I'd noted down earlier that day. My picture of the situation was now complete. To her, it seemed I was dispensable. Perfect. That implication gave me the power to step aside on my own terms. When the next day rolled around, I didn't panic or let emotions get the better of me. I simply made calculated, precise calls. The venue coordinator was the first to hear from me. I explained my need to withdraw from our agreement. There was a pause on her end. "But it's a wedding," she remarked, slightly bewildered. "Are you saying you no longer wish to be listed as the groom?" "That's right," I replied. "Keep everything else the same. She can choose my replacement if she sees fit." Her lengthy silence suggested that this was an unusual request, but she noted it down nonetheless. The responsibility of the contract was now hers alone. Next, I contacted the caterer and then moved on to the photographer and DJ. I followed the same script. My liability was null. Each of these agreements had been under Brianna's name, her signature, her financial responsibility. By the time I wrapped up these calls, there was a lightness in my step. With that, I placed a call to Emma Howard, our landlord. With the lease renewal looming 6 weeks away, I said, "Emma, this is my notice. I won't be renewing the lease." "What about Brianna?" she asked. "She can apply individually if that's her choice." Emma chuckled. "Considering her income alone, she wouldn't qualify. You're the financial heavyweight here." "I'm aware," I said, "but that's no longer my concern." As soon as I hung up, I accessed my bank app. I rerouted my salary to a new account and set about canceling automatic payments linked to her phone, gym membership, and car insurance, all registered under my name. I created a comprehensive list with cutoff dates for utilities, streaming services, and every other payment she relied on me for, intending to sever them one by one. It wasn't through confrontation or heated exchanges, but through a methodical, clean break. I had already secured a short-term rental near my office. It was nothing extravagant, just furnished enough to serve until I uncovered something long-term. The key thing was disentangling myself from that apartment and, more importantly, from Brianna. That evening, when Brianna arrived, laden with bags from her shopping spree, she beamed about the fantastic deal she had snagged. I nodded, keeping silent, knowing the true bargain I had made. I was done financing her existence, although she remained unsuspecting of this. By the third day, the shift became apparent to Brianna. Initially, she encountered issues with her gym membership being declined, soon followed by alerts from her phone carrier regarding payment failure. In a rush, she confronted me as I worked on my laptop. "Gerald, what's happening? None of my payments are clearing." Calmly, I looked up and said, "I stopped the automatic payments. Those costs were never my responsibility." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You're just cutting me off out of the blue? No forewarning?" "Those are your expenses, Brianna. Manage them yourself." She began pacing, a hand raking through her hair. "Is this because you don't trust me? You think I'm concealing something?" I folded my laptop shut. "It's not a suspicion, it's a certainty. I uncovered the withdrawals, the trips, the parties, the shopping sprees. Our wedding savings are no more." Her jaw clenched with tension. "You've had access to my account?" "Our account," I corrected. "The one you depleted." For a second, she seemed on the verge of breaking, but then the facade returned. "I elevated you, Gerald. Before me, you were just a monotonous man with a stable job devoid of ambition. I gave you style, confidence, status. Now you're painting me as the antagonist?" I maintained my composure. "Then show me your bank statements. Prove me mistaken." She scoffed, devoid of mirth. "Auditing your fiancé? That's pitiful. You should feel fortunate to have been selected by me." "Grateful?" I asked. "For the deception? For watching my money vanish?" Her voice escalated. "You're so paranoid. Your accusations are why I keep things from you." I rose, retrieved a folder from the hallway closet, and set it down on the table. It contained receipts and credit card statements, truths against her denial. These don't deceive, nor does Alyssa's Instagram, where you flaunted your expenditures. She stood frozen, then grabbed her purse, declaring, I'm going to Melissa's. When you're ready to apologize for doubting me, call. At the door, she turned with defiance. Remember, Gerald, you're replaceable. I'm not. The door shut with a resounding slam. Her words, once barbed, failed to hurt anymore. They simply affirmed that I was headed correctly. After Brianna departed that night, the quiet enveloping the apartment was not oppressive, but liberating. I kept focused, systematically erasing bills as their deadlines approached. Within the next week, utilities and her car insurance ceased being my concern. That's when the panic set in for Brianna, who resorted to a frenzy of social media activity. Selfies accompanied by lengthy captions about newfound independence and personal growth frequently filled her social media. Whenever anyone tried to diminish her light, she would remind herself that a true queen doesn't beg. She simply finds someone new. This was her subtle way of letting the world know she was on the hunt for a fresh sponsor. Her first potential candidate was Leonard Pierce, an old acquaintance from her past life in public relations. She shared photos of a dinner, complete with champagne flutes, ensuring the upscale restaurant was tagged. My friend Thomas, familiar with Leonard, sent me a message. Isn't that your fiancé with Pierce? The guy's drowning financially. His firm's reduced his hours, and he's on the brink of bankruptcy. So much for her upgrade. A week after this, she introduced Eli Harris, enthusiastically praising his supposed real estate empire. A brief investigation, however, revealed he hadn't finalized a deal in over a year. His empire was nothing more than vacant lots and unfinished properties. Each new date she shared saw a decline in comments and likes, while her financial obligations piled up. The dreaded rent notice arrived, and without me on the lease, she couldn't meet the renewal terms on her own. Additionally, she faced refusal from vendors to refund her deposits. By month's end, she reached out to me, her voice quivering. Gerald, I need your help. Just a little assistance. A loan. I'll pay you back when my business starts booming. Keeping my tone even, I replied, How? You have no clients, depleted the wedding fund, and have been untruthful. I won't fund another fantasy. Her voice turned sharp. You can't just leave me. I responded calmly. I didn't leave. I chose not to be used. Silence hung between us until she quietly uttered, You'll regret this, before I ended the call, feeling a wave of certainty wash over me. The date that we once circled excitedly on our shared calendar as our wedding day approached faster than expected. The first inkling of its new meaning came from Alyssa, who texted me late in the morning. You need to see what Brianna's doing at your wedding venue, she wrote. Intrigued, I opened the attached image to find Brianna at the conservatory, dressed entirely in white, beneath the floral arch we had picked out together months ago. Her caption read, Relaunching my brand because commitment starts with oneself. She had transformed our canceled wedding into a marketing ploy, posting pictures of herself posing with a bouquet and slow-motion videos of her solitary promenade. For her, it was merely content, but the truth differed starkly from the facade. Another update from Alyssa popped up 15 minutes later. They just asked her for the balance. She assumed the deposit covered everything. They're refusing to continue. It turned out she hadn't taken care of the remaining venue costs. The photographer she engaged also declined to proceed without full payment. A comment exposed the truth, revealing, She promised me exposure instead of money. Never again. While Brianna attempted to convince the world of her thriving state, I was elsewhere, comfortably settled in a sports bar across town with my co-worker, Andrew Bell, ready to enjoy the big game. My phone buzzed from an unknown number. I picked up. Brianna's voice, laced with anger, said, This was supposed to be our day. I know, I replied. She continued, "Doesn't seeing me there at our venue make you feel anything?" "No, Brianna," I said plainly. "It's your venue, your debt. You'll regret this, Gerald. When you're old and alone, you'll remember that I was the one who chose you," she warned. But I hung up before she could say more, feeling relieved like never before. 2 months later, my life took on a stable rhythm. I thrived in my new apartment, complete with minimalist decor, no bills in another's name, and no financial leakage. Everything was quiet, manageable, and honest. On a Saturday, I stopped by a cafe near my office. Mid-coffee, familiar tones caught my ear. Looking up, I saw Brianna walk in with an unfamiliar man. Mid-30s, sharply dressed, his eyes darting over menu prices like calculating each cent. She spotted me instantly. I thought she might leave, but she instead donned a saccharine smile and approached, pulling the man with her by the arm. "Gerald," she greeted, her voice laced with excessive sweetness. "This is Matthew, my business partner. We're expanding my company. Things are really picking up." I nodded. "Good for you." Matthew returned my handshake, yet skepticism glinted in his eyes. He wasn't convinced by her tale, spun with ambition but lacking substance. "I hope you're well," Brianna added, tilting her head as if gauging my reaction. "I am," I replied simply. "Take care, Brianna." Later that evening, Alyssa sent another text. "She's back living with her parents, still boasting about being a CEO, but everyone knows it's just smoke." There was no need for a reply. Silence was reassurance enough. Ultimately, her words echoed a stark truth. You're interchangeable. Don't ever let that slip from your mind. There was one thing she got spot on. Someone was indeed interchangeable. But that someone wasn't me. I stepped out of my position in her world and left it vacant. It dawned on her that my absence meant she was left with exactly that. Nothing. The most valuable offering she ever gave wasn't her affection or even a commitment of marriage. It was the crucial lesson that self-worth is something you must hold on to fiercely. She told me I was interchangeable. I took note. And then I walked away to demonstrate exactly that.